You're watching EVH and Gear TV, brought to you by Stewart Travel Guitars. See the incredible Stowaway Travel Guitar at stewartguitars.com. Microphones for EVH and Gear TV are provided by Rode Microphones. And official Van Halen merchandise is provided by vanhalenstore.com. Here's your host from Ontario, Canada, EVH artist Eric Broadbent.
Hey everyone, it is the weekend. Happy Friday to you all. Welcome to EVH and Gear TV. We are live. A familiar face is joining us once again. It seems like it's been a while, but it's a pleasure to have you back, Mr. Jim Reed, CEO of Stewart Guitar Company. Jim, how are you doing?
I'm wonderful. Great to be here on a Friday night.
Nice to be back on a Friday night. We had a couple Fridays where we had to move them because of our internet speed was dropping at 7 o'clock every single Friday or every single evening. We've got all that problem worked out. And I see a familiar face that's jumping in the chat right now, Carlo Santin. He's very happy to have Friday nights because he was bummed he couldn't tune in on Saturdays where we were moving him to. And we've got some other familiar faces in the chat as well, too. We're going to be talking to a few of these people about these people a few times tonight. Daryl Qualls is jumping in. He's going to be on stage in about 30 minutes. So we'll talk about Daryl. But thank you so very, very much. Chlorine Baconskin here as well, too. And FU Tone, my buddy Adam is here. Brian Cote is here. We'll go through the chat as people come in and pull up their seats and get ready to rock and roll. But it's been a while since we've had you here, and we've had you here a few times talking about this fun fascination of travel guitars. You just so happen to own the company, but you're you're a consumer of the product as well too because you're a guitar player and you travel. So we're going to get really deep into that later on in the program. We'll try to do some playing if we can towards the end of the program. But for now, what have you been up to since the last time you've been by?
Well, it's actually been a great ride. There's been a lot of excitement with the instrument, and quite honestly, the last 3 months in a row have been sequential record months for us. Things have been going real well. A lot of people have interest. Your community has been very supportive, and I think a lot of people have plugged in, and people are starting to understand what this thing is about now, and I think it's really kind of cool to see the swell and all of the buzz around the guitar, and people are kind of realizing that they can actually have a guitar that they could play with. You know, Daryl's on, and you'll talk to him more, I know, in the future, but, you know, he plays it every night. So, and there's a lot of guys that are doing that now, so it's really cool. Yeah,
Daryl's a champion for sure. Him and I were literally just talking on Facebook just a moment ago, and, you know, he's kind of giving his, sending his support from afar. And, I was telling him, I said, I always feel his support, even though when he can't watch. A lot of times he can't tune in live because he's playing, man. He's gigging. I looked at there's a picture on his Facebook today, and it's like the tour dates, and it's like, wow, that's pretty awesome. It's like no rest for the wicked.
Yeah, he is definitely out there getting after it, and if there's anybody that is a proponent of the instrument and the stability of the instrument and the durability of the instrument, he's a guy that could talk to that, and we may talk about that a little later, but I know they have a single that just came out, and he used that guitar for all the lead cuts and all the cool guitar parts and all that, so a lot of great things happening there.
Very cool. And you were telling me off the air, which I thought was kind of nice, kind of got little goosebumps when you were talking how some of our viewers were approaching the guitars, and you said it's been people coming from my direction have been the humbucker guys. They really like the humbucker, maybe humbucker, single humbucker, so we'll talk custom options tonight. I mean, you've got several guitars there you can show. I've got mine here as well too. And I was playing it just before the show, and as I was telling you, I broke a string today on it. I was really giving it a workout, busted a string, and I was able to quickly repair it. One of those nice things, it doesn't have a Floyd Rose, but like you do on a Floyd Rose. Same thing with the headless guitar. You can get back in there, and you're done. Pop the string back on, you're ready to rock and roll. So we're gonna have a fun show. But one of the things I really like about we're going to talk about Daryl. I mean, we're going to make Daryl blush a little bit tonight. But I mean, he's a real advocate for the brand, and the fact that, not only is this a travel guitar, something that you can bring with you, to your hotel or to on the bus, or in your case, in the plane. A lot of people are using it, himself included, as one of their main guitars. Are you hearing that from other people, or is that an anomaly, or what?
I think it's happening more as people realize that it's a bona fide guitar you could use. There's another guy that is kind of head studio musician, and he does a lot of playing also, mainly in a lot of the tours with like musicals and those sort of things. So he's in the pit.
Okay.
And one of the things that's interesting is this is a very well balanced guitar, because without having the headstock on it, it's very well balanced, and it's a little shorter, right? So he loves it because in the pit he has an HSS set up, okay, and he has it in the pit, so then he can be in positions 2 or 3 or 4 and get that bluesy sound, and then he can nail it down all the way in either 1 or 2 and get more bite, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But he loves it because it's not so hard, and he may be out for 12 bars, and then he's in for 16, and then he's out and he's in. So he's taking different guitars in and out, and this one is lovely for him because it's light and it's durable and it's small in the music pit. So he uses it in all of those, and then in the studio when he plays quite a bit with Doc Holliday, who's a 7-time Grammy winner, in Sony Studios, they exclusively record with these guitars.
Now that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So there's more and more of that. There's some other guys too that are out there with the instrument. There's a guy, Jake Morelli, who I'm friends
with him. Yep.
Yeah, and he's out on tour with a couple of the older KC and the Village People and all that sort of thing that he's playing with, and he's using this guitar out there. So
that's good to know.
Yeah, it's really kind of cool. So I think that it's neat to see that people like Daryl, who's, and hi Daryl, nice to see you watching tonight.
Yeah.
But it's nice to see people actually using the instrument as a main instrument, and it gives it some credibility as, yes, it is a travel guitar. It's very easy to take around with you, but it has the merit where you can actually use it as something you want to play with or even record.
I agree.
So that says a lot.
I'm glad you mentioned Jake too. Jake's a cool guy. Jake and I come into the circle through. I've been a long-time endorser of Pedal Snake, and I love that product. Pedal Snake to me is important to me as my guitar pick, of choice, and my guitar. It sounds silly when you're thinking of a cable solution being that important, but it is. You know what that's all about.
Absolutely.
And I was working very closely with Pedal Snake, still am, even though I don't use pedals and things of that nature anymore. Still a big supporter of the brand. I'm more modeling stuff now. But I started working with Pedal Snake, and that turned into this trifecta of 3 companies that come together. And that's how I met Jake. It was working with Pedal Snake, and then Strymon, and then, of course, Idea Bench, who makes this really, really awesome pedal board. I got to turn you on to them. If you haven't seen them yet, I'll hook you up with the company, and you guys can talk. But it's like these 3 companies come together, and Strymon provided the power supplies. And I was the first guy on the planet. So they say, this is not me saying this. I was the first guy on the planet using the 24-volt system powering this pedal board from behind the rig. Jake was number 2, and Jake took that on the road. And he was, as you said, Village People. He's played with also a couple other bands that you didn't mention, but that's some serious credit. Ed Sheeran and Bruno Mars. I mean, the guy's got some huge accolades of artists. So it's cool to see people that could probably play just about anything they want, right? And choosing to play something that they believe in, because you can play one particular product, and if it's gonna make your performance poor, or you're just going through the motions, it's pretty easy to spot.
Absolutely right. There's no question about it. I mean, if you can't depend on the instrument, then as unique as it may be, or as fun as it might be to play with, when you're out there, and especially if you're a hired gun for some of these bands, whether you're like Daryl and they're on the rise and trying to make things happen and get to that A-list status, which I know they will pretty soon.
Sure.
Or if you're like somebody like Jake, that you're maybe not their headline musician, but you're a very integral part of the band.
Yep.
But you're hired to get a job done. So if you hear a couple clinkers here or there, or something doesn't sound right with the instrument, you're not going to be able to, stay on that gig. So it's important that your instrument meets the needs that you have.
I agree with that. Yeah, if you are one of those hired guns, if this will allow you. I mean, as long as you suit the guitar suits you, which in a lot of cases, which we're hearing it does, you become a chameleon. The less that you're known, or like the causing a problem or anything else, like, okay, well, that guitar doesn't sound good or something's not right. As soon as you stand out too much, there's a problem. But if you can be that backline guy or girl and blend in, in my opinion, everything's working really good and it's smoothly, right?
Especially in those iconic bands where there's certain hooks that have to be there.
Oh, yeah.
And when those hooks have to be there and have a certain tone, it's important that you nail it.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what the fans want to hear,
Agreed. A couple other people jumping in the chat. A good friend here, Brian Cote, is jumping in. Frank C. says, hello, everyone. Eric.
Hey, Frank.
And Jim. Daryl Qualls, he had great guitars. Yeah, we couldn't ask for better testimonials than Daryl, for sure. And I'm going to get him on the show. We've been talking back and forth. We're going to talk some guitar. It'll be a free-for-all one night. We'll do like a lot of just general guitar stuff, and we'll mix in a lot of Stewart as well, too, because we both have a fascination for it.
Yep.
And I saw he may be here tonight. I'm not sure yet. I haven't seen him in the chat, but I noticed we caught Jared Frost's attention tonight as well too. Jared's obviously a mutual friend of both of us, and it's cool to see him, picking up the guitar, and he's playing it a lot too.
That's right.
Very cool
That's
guitar.
Right. Frank C has a cool one too. We did some mods on that. He
Yeah.
wanted a different neck on it and stuff, and he has a great guitar. I think he loves it.
You want to tell us a little bit about that one? What did he get?
Yeah.
He told, because we talked back and forth by email, but I'm not sure what his end result was.
Well, he actually took his and he modded it. He has an HSH set up, but then he has it tapped, and he put even a different pickup in there. And then he's a real fan of an ebony fretboard.
Nice.
So I was able to put together an ebony neck and configure it that it will fit onto the Stewart. And we set that up for him and got it to him. And he was concerned initially that because the necks on these, I do a little work on to get them kind of feeling, I call it buttery. I like them to feel nice and smooth and not sticky.
Yep.
There's not a lot of varnish on them, if you notice. They're kind of clean.
Yep.
Most guys, I think, are more preferring that sort of feel to the guitar so it isn't sticky. But anyway, he was wanting to make sure that was all taken care of, and we got it to him, and he says he loves it. So that was awesome. He could get that custom feel that he wanted with that ebony fingerboard.
Very cool. That would be nice. Yeah, because I haven't owned an ebony guitar in a long time until I got one of the Line 6 Variax Shurikens. And once I got that ebony, I know what you're talking about, like buttery and a very fast fretboard. So that'd be really cool. I'll have to explore that. So that was nice that you were able to get that, installed for him. Very cool.
Yeah.
Guitar Hack is here. Daryl Qualls is saying thank you for the support. You got it. Let me see here. Scott Connor's jumping in as well. Nocturnal Butterfly, my better half, is going to be sharing links for you tonight. We'll be sharing links to the website, Facebook, and, of course, Twitter as well for you. Get some people on your social platforms.
Yes.
Defcon Clark is here. Salutations. Much love for my Stowaway. Very, very nice. Right on. Mitch Hammond is here. I was talking to Mitch earlier today, talking about some gear. It's always nice having private conversations about gear and trying to help people troubleshoot things and stuff like that. So he's looking at getting some new gear as well. I'm trying to point him in the right direction. Very cool. So yeah, we're getting some good feedback on the guitar. We're seeing several people in the chat already. And Frank is actually saying he loves the setup. It's great. So you did a good job with the setup.
Yeah, good. And that's something that, Daryl and I talked a lot about this, and you and I talked a lot about this also, is that some guitars that you get, now obviously the high-end ones that you buy, although there are some stories I've seen, even some, I won't mention any names, but various kind of custom shop places where you can get their high-end guitars. And I've seen some of those, and they get them, and the setup is absolutely nothing on them.
Yeah.
They wind up having to take them somewhere to get it set up. Not that they're not fantastic guitars, but you would think that if you would buy a specialized guitar like that you would get it with a pretty decent setup. So I try to set them up so that everyone has their own personality to some degree on how they like it, but I like to set it up that actually out of the box when you get it, you can play it.
For sure.
That isn't common these days as it used to be.
I know.
You get the Graphtec saddles on it. They're a little special. I try to do some things to the neck, set the action up, the intonation, and all that fun stuff. So,
well, I hear you recently. A couple of our friends here that are in the chat, we went and visited a music store, and I won't mention the name. And it's no slam towards a music store because it's a massive music store. I mean, they probably have 5,000 guitars in the store. Well, maybe a couple thousand, but I mean, we're talking wall to wall guitars, right? And every guitar I picked up guitars that were $500, and I picked up guitars that were $5,000. And in the $5,000 guitars, like some big brand names, and I couldn't play them. It was like playing a slide guitar. The strings were this high off the neck, and I was like, oh man. But in defense of the music store, I mean, when you have a couple thousand guitars, they can't keep them all set up. And here in Canada as well too, I'm not sure what it's like there for you. As far as I know, you're hot in your climate. But we're all over the place. We're cold, we're hot, we're humid, we're dry. And I know it's insane to keep those guitars up. And so they'll set them up to the customer's spec. But, when you do pick up a $5,000 guitar, if it's your first time playing a guitar like that, you're like, and I feel bad for others that may do that. You're like, ooh, like, how do I play this thing? So it is nice when you get a guitar out of the box that you can play. That's cool.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's important. And just as you said, to give the brand something that people can have a good feel for right out of the box. That experience is pretty good. I mean, you did an unboxing when you first got yours, and that was kind of cool. And some other guys like Chad and others have done that as well, and it's always worked out pretty well.
And that's the thing too. It could be a scary thing. I mean, it's one thing doing unboxings because and I've done two types of unboxings. I've done where the command, I'm off the line, I'm not live. I'll take them out of the box. I'll pick up. Okay, if something doesn't feel right, something feels awesome, blah blah blah. But when you're live, you're literally deer in headlights. And fortunately, everything I've done as far as live unboxings or things like that, knock on wood, has been a very positive experience. A lot of times I like to try digital gear that way because if I don't know it usually when I get it, and I want to learn with the viewers. And if I happen to learn it with them live, I feel really, really good because then I can kind of convey the look. If I can do it, you can do it, right? But
Yep.
Same thing with yours. I opened yours up, and the only thing and I like to use myself as an example for sometimes making mistakes. I couldn't figure out the neck pocket thing, and it's so incredibly easy. I just had a hard time. Okay, how do I snap the neck? Or maybe was it taking it off the neck? That's what it was, because I didn't know about the little lever, which we'll show in a little bit, the patented neck joint and everything. So I've got it all set up, no problem, and I was playing it right away, and I had fun with it, but I struggled unhooking it. And I'm glad though, even though it might have been embarrassing for a second for me, I'm glad that I struggled because for everyone that may find a problem, it'll help the next person, right?
No, that's very good.
And it was so easy. Once you get it, it's almost like you can look the other way, click, hold the thing, turn the nuts on the back, and it's ready to pack away. So
That's
yeah,
right.
It went good, and I was happy with it. It sounded good right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing I probably will add to some of the videos on the websites and so forth, is that some little details like that, because once it is locked, if there's tension on it, you have to put a little tension on the neck to get that to actually release, or you'll never get it off,
That's right. And
So,
another little trick too that I discovered as well too, if you're out in the field and you're playing, and Daryl would know this because he plays in a lot of festival gigs and outdoor gigs and things like that. Climate change humidity can be a real drastic thing. With the two, actually, I'm gonna try to show it real quick. I'll grab the guitar.
yeah, sure.
With the two screws on the back, okay, right there. If you want to do, and I'm not telling you anything you don't know, I'm just kind of telling our viewers that may not know about the guitar. Let's just say the action just kind of shifted a little bit on you, climate change, whatever. I find instead of taking the neck off and adjusting truss rod or anything like that, I can either put pressure at the top to bend it back to loosen the back one, or I can pull back the other way to loosen the other, to take the pressure off each joint, and I'll just make I'll loosen, or loosen one or loosen the other. So if I'm buzzing out, I can adjust one. And so I'm relieving the tension on one of them, or vice versa. And I found that today because we actually got pretty hot here in Ontario, Canada, in our area, and I actually dropped it down a little too low. So I had to just back it off a little bit, and it's in a pinch. It's not loosening off like to the point where the neck is going to wobble. It's just taking a millimeter, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And all of a sudden my action was right in my comfort zone again. So that's a nice, quick, on-the-fly fix.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, so there's some versatility, and as I said, that also provides some benefit, I think, for the tuning of the instrument and so forth.
Yep.
Once it can stabilize to a different environment, because it actually can adjust again. Whereas if it's connected and you get that relief, there's no way to relieve that relief. The neck is going to have to be relieved by redoing it, and a lot of times in a traditional type guitar, then you have to loosen all the strings and make a little adjustment, and then tighten everything up, see where you are. This is great where you can do that on the fly.
Now, one of the things I really like about it, I mean, I'm a Floyd Rose guy through and through, but it's a hardtail. Did you have to go through many prototypes to find the bridge that you like? Because the gear ratio on those tuners, I'll try to show the tuners again real quick. the gear ratio is insane. There's the tuners right there. And I mean, you could probably go a couple whole steps easily with the tuner ratio. Did you go through several prototypes, or where did you finally find the happy place?
We did. We initially we were thinking about having something that be on the front of the guitar.
Okay.
And do something like that, and that didn't work out. And then we came up with this ratio. They're like 60-1, so you have plenty of range, but yet they're fine enough that it stays in tune very nicely.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the way that you have kind of the best of both worlds, if you will.
Gotcha. The fine tuning is really precise, just a notch, and you got it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that was the idea, is you wanted to have enough range where if you wanted to do drop D or other tunings, you can do that, but at the same time, you didn't want it so fine that you're, like on a Floyd Rose, like you say, for the fine tuning when you have a locking system, you can adjust it, but it's more of a fine adjustment. You wouldn't want to be going to drop D. You'd have to actually loosen the nut and do it up the top. So
I agree. I like it,
Yep.
and it takes a while to get used to it too. And the funny thing is too, I know you've experienced this before, and probably a lot of people that have played headless guitars, everything from Steinbergers to Kiesels to I'm sure there's a million brands, right? I can't name them all. But when you play them, you think you're playing a smaller guitar. You almost feel like, using myself as the experience, if I play a 24 fret guitar back in the day, like a few years ago, if I played a 24 fret guitar, I felt uncomfortable because I like 22. If I played a 21 fret guitar, I needed 22. I play a guitar without a headstock. I'm like, okay, I'm running out of real estate. I go down towards the top of the upper first positions. I'm like, there's no headstock. But once you lose that intimidation factor, it actually becomes a really fun guitar. And you talked about the balance earlier, and the freedom. It's a very light guitar to move around. Still the weight enough for the sustain, but it's a fun guitar to play when you lose that stigma of the headstock.
Yeah, it is. And to my knowledge, there are some travel guitars that are 22 fret, but there's not one that the neck comes off. This is the only one where it has a removable neck that has 22 frets on it.
Oh, that's good to know. Yeah, you were telling me that before privately. That's very cool. I did not know that until you mentioned that.
One other thing that's kind of, sometimes you have these, I guess, moments of they're not genius, they're just maybe luck. But there is also something going on with this cavity back here.
Okay.
It almost gives it kind of a hollow body
resonance,
if you will. Yeah. Have you ever picked a guitar up? For all of our audience, sometimes you'll pick a guitar up, and like you said, it could be a $5,000 guitar, it could be a $1,000 guitar, and you play it, and I'm not going to play plugged in now, but you can hear it on the mic. It has a resonance to it, even when you're just playing it acoustically. And a lot of times when I pick a guitar up and I hear that, I know when I plug it in, it's going to sound awesome because it already has that kind of resonance to it.
Agreed.
And other guitars you'll pick up, and it's just dead for some reason. It's not that the action isn't good, or it's just for whatever reason the resonance is not there. And there's something going on with that cavity in the back.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
I agree with that 100%. I know my friend here in the chat as well, too, Guitar Hack, and probably a lot of other guitar players, too. We've had the same conversation. If I go into a music store, number one, I normally don't like to play a guitar. It's like an intimidation factor. I don't know why it is. I don't like to play in the music stores. I will if I find somewhat comfortable, and I don't know what it is, but I will always play unplugged first. And if a guitar doesn't speak to you, if it doesn't ring like that, and sometimes even if I want to go to the extreme, if I'm purchasing, if I'm there with a buddy, sometimes now I'll play it and then I'll have a buddy play it unplugged as well too, and plugged in, and I'll walk out in front of it. I want to hear and especially with the acoustic guitars more so, but as I do this with the electrics as well too, I want to hear it, how it resonates with me. I want to be out in front of it as the person's playing it and get a chance to hear it too. And I've noticed that as well too. I've always said before to you with this guitar, because it kind of has a bit of a flat base on the bottom instead of a full curve, it's easy to stand up against the wall. And I would bring this guitar to the kitchen. I'd bring it to the living room. It became my living room guitar as my main guitar out there because I wanted the guitar that I could grab and play at all times. And I brought it out, pointing out to an imaginary place right now. But behind this wall, behind the camera, is another wall. And I'd have the guitar out there, and it leaned up against the wall. And acoustically, I didn't really even have to plug in. I was mojo. I had, the fun with it, and it's unplugged. So that's a good sign for sure.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Jump back to the chat for a quick sec. We'll say hi to a few other people as well, too.
Sure. Let's do it.
Let's see. Charles Green is here. I think I saw Bam Ozzy is here as well, too. Marsman is here. R2R3 Locknut is here. Gary Tholander is also here. Brad Miller's jumping in. Good evening, sir, he says.
Hi.
Oh, and this is
Have
good.
you on board.
Yeah, nice for sure. And this is good testament from Daryl. He says, Jim puts his hands on every one of them. He seriously cares about quality. And that speaks volumes as well, too, because at the end of the day, you don't want your name on the product, as the CEO. If you're going to, have something out that's subpar, just get them out there and we'll fix them later. No, fix them right from manufacturing, and that's good to hear that people like himself saying that.
Yeah, we actually kind of go through about a 20-point kind of bullet list of items on the guitar to make sure that everything is cool. And that includes plugging into a real rig and playing it. Is to make sure that everything is right.
Yeah, you showed me one time. You had a little picture of a little card kind of thing you were showing me. Yeah, that's cool.
Exactly. Yeah. So we go through all those things. It's important because I would hate for somebody, we'll talk about later on, but it's been kind of cool that the uptake has been worldwide in many cases. And so somebody really loves the guitar and they're in, Asia somewhere or whatever, and they get a guitar and they come out and they go, oh gosh, one of the pickup screws is messed up and it fell down through. Now I need to take the neck off and remove the pick guard and, is it stripped or, things like that. You want to make sure everything is good. So I take them all and I go through them and make sure everything is cool before they go out the door.
Yeah, so if it's going to be your guitar, right?
That's right. That's right.
I mean, it technically is your guitar until someone pays for it, but you know what I mean? Yeah.
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct.
Technically. But let's talk a little bit about some of the traveling experiences. I've seen some of the cool photos that you've shared. And you're not only the president, you're a player, right? The old cliche. But you've been playing on the plane and you've got pictures of people taking pictures of you, stuff like that. Share with us some of the, kind of feedback you've had from people like, what the heck's that guy got back there? And maybe musicians, maybe just people that are just curious to see what you have. How has that gone over on some of your flights?
It's really fun because most people are kind of have a, like, what in the world is going on here? Because they see you putting it together. So it always draws a crowd. Sometimes I'll even, if I'm on a flight and there's extra time and maybe a flight's delayed or something like that, and I'm in the holding area before you get on the tarmac there, I'll put it together and start playing, or in a lounge somewhere, I'll do the same thing. And, people will start looking and you can tell they want to talk to you. Sometimes they're shy.
Of course.
And I'll say, hey, it's kind of cool, isn't it? And they'll go, yeah, what's going on? So actually the most recent instance where that happened, which was kind of cool, is I had my little katana with me that I have behind me. And they said, well, hey, let's play a little something, So I went through and I played a little, and then the whole lounge, I got a little, not that it was anything fantastic, but I played something and they got
That's
applause.
cool.
But it was really neat, and then they wanted to exchange cards and all that sort of thing. So I've had that kind of thing happen, and like I said, on the plane, it's very interesting. The wait, whether it be the stewards or the stewardess or other people that are actually on the plane, they're always asking questions, and invariably, us guitar players, we're a subculture, and it seems like you're like 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon related or knowing people in your family or close friends that are guitar players. Of course, all of us guitar players have a lot of guitar player friends, but it's always kind of funny when I hear that, my brother plays guitar, or my brother's uncle plays guitar, or my son started playing guitar, etc. And it's really a cool community. And I think that I am very encouraged to see how many people that I talk to are really enthused about the opportunity to maybe take it with them. Even on vacation, it's cool.
Yeah.
We go places and I take it with me, and if I'm in the living room area or something and Donna's getting ready to do something, and not that you ever have that your wife might be getting ready longer than you, but why not have your guitar with you and be doing something and playing?
Yeah. Well, it's cool, and you always get to, like, as you know, being in sales, when people start to ask questions, there's interest, like, okay, well, I'm curious, what is that, right? And then once you kind of take away the intimidation or the fear factor of that's not, it doesn't look like a conventional guitar, so it can't be like a real guitar, and then have you ever put it in someone's hands on an airplane or in a
I have.
Have you?
And several times I've actually given it to guys, and then they've come back and then they've actually got guitars later. Which is kind of cool. The coolest story we maybe talk about later on, but I had a story about where somebody who actually had a guitar, maybe even been one of the people from your audience, I don't know, but they had a Stewart bag, like the ones I had behind me.
Yep.
And somebody was in line, and they were backed up to get in line, and the other person was a guitar player. And they said, is that a guitar that you have there? And they got talking. And the second guy talked to the first guy. The first guy got it out, showed it to him, and all this kind of thing. And then the second guy bought a guitar from me. And then he told me that story, which is kind of cool.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I've got one of the bags here as well, too. And you saw, actually, in the thumbnail of this video today, too, you can actually kind of see a few things I have. I've got the guitar, and I've got a guitar cable, and I've got a HX Stomp in here. I'm just
awesome.
Just losing my microphone quality for a second. But here's the size of the bag here. I always kind of joke with it when I say it's about the size, a little bit bigger than what you'd have the pizza delivery guys. When guys or girls, they bring you a pizza, it's about that size. And inside you got the pouch, like in here. I've got a Stomp in here. So I mean,
Awesome.
you could really honestly, and there's a guitar cable in there somewhere, the power supply, everything fits in here. And as you talked about the Katana, was it Katana Air? Is that what you were using?
No, actually, a regular MIDI.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it'll fit in there. I don't know if you can see or not.
Oh,
but
all right.
MIDI
Okay, there you
fit
go.
in
That's
there.
the same one I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. It'll actually fit in there. And sometimes you just like to have a amplifier with you that you can actually play.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and you can also, do this gig here on your smartphone with the apps that they have, whether it be the, GarageBand thing on the Apple phone or some of these other things that are out there like iShred Live and
I didn't know about that one.
Different ones. Yeah, there's a bunch of them that are out there that you can download on Android platform also.
Nice. Yeah, because I know I'm an iOS guy, but I know that a lot of times I'll be talking about products and people are like, oh, I wish they had it for for Android. So it's good that there's some other ones out there. I know Positive Grid has some good stuff with the bias and what else is your iRig and all that kind of stuff. I'm kind of out of the loop now because I haven't used the mobile stuff for a while. But yeah, I mean, you can have a portable studio or at least a nice warm up and just a jam facility on your device.
Yeah, I mean, what's nice for those kind of things, if you have a tablet or something like that, is that you have that utility where you can take that with you. It's very portable. But the problem has always been, okay, that's great, but then how do you get this there?
Yeah.
And that's the thing that was cool. So a lot of times when I'm on the plane, I'll have some type of dongle. In my case, or iOS platform, I'll use an iRig thing and I'll plug in, and I could actually be on the plane playing to a track or making tracks and recording stuff, which is kind of cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
I've got one device. I'm not sure if I can actually access it quickly here, but it works really good. I might be able to grab it. I can. This is strictly for iOS, but does work very good from Apogee Jam. I can't really see it very, very well, but it's about the size of a cigarette lighter. The only thing I don't like about it is it has a gain control on the side, which is almost just like a rotary volume for you'd have on a headphone thing or whatever. Not necessarily crazy about that, but it is what it is. Guitar input on the end, and then you've got some kind of crazy, their proprietary end that'll go to a lightning or even the old style, whatever they called that. The old, it's not even really old anymore, but the old iPhone style thing. And I use this for the longest time. And you can also use it on Mac as well too. So if you got a MacBook, plug it into your MacBook. It's not PC compatible, but that's one of many, many things that are out there. I mean, I would just use my Stomp as my interface. But so many things, right? The portability is there now to take these things with us. Guitar, amplifier, recording studio, everything on the go. Really, I think you'd almost put the MacBook or a small tablet in the pouch there as well too.
Oh, you could.
Yeah.
And there's guys that are doing that actually. They're taking all of their stuff, and if they are at a venue where the back line is already there, they just plug into that back line. If not, a lot of them are going direct, and they're using stomps and things like that. So what's cool about that is that you know what you have at every gig. In other words, your interface and what's going to come out, it's just being amplified for the size of the crowd. Everything that you have going in is going to be the same every time. So that's really cool. And with the electronic age, that's a neat thing, knowing you could have something this size and it's going to sound a certain way, or you could have a stadium of 10 or 20,000 people that you're playing to, and you're going to have that same sound. And a lot of times you'll have inner ears, or you'll have a monitor in front of you, and you're jamming.
I agree. Well, it's so funny too. Like with the way digital gear is come forward now. Back at Winter NAMM, I got to experience a really cool performer, one that I only knew of by name, but never actually really knew anything about his discography. Charlie Parra. He's a Kramer Guitars, and he's in the Gibson family as well too. And Gibson had a really, really cool event at their booth. I mean, it was the first time back at NAMM in a while, right? 2 years or whatever. And a phenomenal stage set up, and all the guitars were all around. And I'm watching Charlie very closely. When he went to play, I'm thinking, okay, here comes another shredder. It's going to be one of these, all over the place.
Yeah.
With but it was amazing. So first of all, not only is he a great player, but I looked, and I saw two. Either phones or tablets of something. I forget what they were now, but they were devices, right? And I said to him after, I said, were you running any backline whatsoever? Were you running any amps? I saw those things up there. And he goes, no, that was it. That's all he was running. And then, out to the PA. So it really goes to show you that, either in a pinch or fly dates and things like that as well too, that you can, really, if you tweak those things to your liking, you can perform live with them.
You absolutely can. And
Yeah.
I think that's the one thing that's interesting for appearances for, whether you're a touring artist that is doing gigs and you're with your band the whole time and you're doing all the tour, or even larger artists that a lot of times all of their gear is in the trailer.
Yep.
So if they want to go do like a little show or they want to do some recording or something, they have the same challenges that you and I would have because everything is on the trailer. And if they want to have the stuff with them, they need to actually pull it off. And now they're carrying that stuff, which they'd rather not do. Now, I mean, I know some of the huge acts, they have entourage and they'll take all that stuff for them. But 90% of even the big boys, they are not wanting to carry that stuff with them.
Yeah,
so
they don't want to see their guitar till tomorrow.
That's right.
Yeah.
So if you have something that's very portable that doesn't weigh you down, that you can have with you, you're sitting there in the middle of the night and a little riff comes and you say, hey, I'd like to play, whatever that is.
Yeah. And
you can kind of lay it down.
Or work on a new song for the
fancy
sound check for tomorrow or something.
Yeah, exactly.
I know that for a fact, and I forget who my guest was, but one of my recent guests said the same thing. Because I always present the opportunity for guests to play, as long as they can get an interface in, and and it sounds good and everything. I'll say, give us a few licks or stuff like that. And the particular guest said, "Oh, I'd love to, but my stuff is literally through the bus and trailer or whatever." And I'm like, oh, so as you said, that happens, right? They don't travel with anything other than their goodie bag, whatever that may be.
But it's changing now, as you talked about with some of the electronic abilities that you have. Things are small, and again, one of the stumbling blocks was to have a guitar that you can take with you. So.
I agree. I'll mention a few other people here. Go over to see if they have any questions. At least say hi to them. And as we come back, it might be a good opportunity to talk about some customer feedback that you've got, and you shared some really cool stories. So you can prepare for that if you want, and I'll say hi to some more people. So Mitch Hammond is talking to Frank. He's saying, "Is this the fellow that you got the travel guitar from?" Frank saying, "Yes, Jim's great to work with." Daniel Horsley is here as well too. Scroll down a little further. Let me see. Very cool. Lots of talk back and forth, and. Frank C says, Jim, Mitch Hammond and I connected in December, and he played my Stewart guitar before I switched out to neck to the Ebony. Oh, so he did have the original one, then went to Ebony? Is that what you said earlier? Okay,
yes,
gotcha.
That's correct.
I thought it came with Ebony. I misunderstood that. That's very cool. And this is good to know, too. Very stable. Daryl's saying that's very stable while traveling through different climates, sun, rain, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, say that's good to know. And he actually could tell you, because he's gone from climates where he's in 85 degrees and then a week later he's at 25 degrees.
Wow.
Yeah
I know.
So zero or below zero to like 25 or something like that, or 30.
Yeah, and here in Canada, like I know that like verbatim, there'll be times where my strings will be inch off the fretboard. Other times it's buzzing out. We either need a humidifier, a dehumidifier. And it's a real bugger on music stores here in Canada as well too. There's a defense for that music store I was talking about earlier. Our climate, you know what I mean? You can't foresee what's going to happen, and it can be day to day. But I do know, like I said earlier today with my Stowaway, one little touch of one of the quick releases on the back, and I was back in business.
Yep,
so that's good to know. Scott Roos is another fellow Canadian jumping in from the East Coast. Nice to have him. This is good. Mitch is saying to us, he's saying, I played Frank C's travel guitar, and I thought it was one of the best guitars I've ever played. That is very cool. And I know he plays elite guitars. He just picked up a Gibson Les Paul the other day, and not a cheap one, so we're getting testimony like that. That's very, very cool. Good to know. Thank you, Mitch, for sharing that. Yeah, Mitch and I were talking earlier today about some gear, so nice to hear feedback like that. So Daryl's off on stage, so he's off. Keith is here. Keith is a fantastic guitar player. I've seen some of his stuff he's done on our Facebook group, which is phenomenal. Thanks for jumping in, Keith. Nice to have you. Let me see. Charles Green, I may have mentioned it, but Charles Green once again. Mitch is saying, I was blown away how great the setup was and sounded really great. Well, good to know for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
That's the idea. I'm glad that you thought that, because that's we're trying to hit that as a goal within the kind of overall vision for the company. We want it to not be something that you have to compromise your playing. We want you to complement your playing with this guitar.
Exactly. And Brian Cote is saying as well, and I know this for a fact, Brian is a real connoisseur of guitars as well, too. He's got like a Gibson R9. He's got beautiful, beautiful guitars. And he says, I always play unplugged first. And I think that's will always be the case. When I worked in music retail, I worked for about 10 years, 5 in one local music store, 5 in another. And one dealer was a Fender dealer, one was a PV dealer, and well, I forget who had what, but then there's also a PRS dealer. And no matter what the brand was the fact that, you know, let's say 10 guitars would come in, right? And you grab one, take out of the box after it's climatized. You know, here in Canada, we let them sit for a while before you'd open the box, and especially the case. Yeah. You open it, like, okay, this plays pretty cool. Okay, pass it on to the setup guy. Grab the next one, take a look at it. You know, pass on, and also, whoa, this is cool, right? Certain ones will speak to you. So it is nice when they come right out of the box, and it's no fault to any manufacturer. That's just the way it happens, because they're coming from maybe Arizona, they're coming from overseas, they're coming from who knows where, right? And they're going through all those climate things too. But certain guitars will have that little sparkle. It's like, oh, what's this? Even if you got two identical guitars, two colors, you know.
I've played the same guitar, and one's different color than the other, and they're the exact same, and one of them has a different feel than the other.
I agree. I agree on that.
Yep.
I'm going to go
their personality.
I'm going to go backwards on the chat just for a second because I scrolled too fast and I lost it. Mitch says, so we have a new champion here with Mitch. Mitch is going to be your new salesperson. He's like, I never knew a travel guitar could play so well. And that's the thing too. There's a lot of misconception, whether it's your brand of guitar or anyone's. This is why I'm trying to be totally honest and unbiased. The fact that people have misconceptions on travel guitars, period. Because a lot of times I think we see those things, you know, like someone says, you know, they got a family member who's maybe it's a second cousin. They got to buy him a Secret Santa gift for Christmas. Okay, let's buy this little thing. It's about this big, and it's like 5 frets, and we can fret the chords, whatever. And I think a lot of people think of travel guitars as something like that. And it's that toy, and you might use it for 5 minutes on the bus if you're bored. And after that, it's a gift that really stops giving.
That's right. Yeah. And I mean, they all have their place, and I'm not here to, you know, badmouth one versus the other. But you mentioned, here's a little tutorial. This is a guy, he's had this guitar now for about a year. He says, Jim, I wanted to thank you for your outstanding customer service, both before and after the sale. The Stewart Stowaway is my second favorite guitar, and I have 7, including a 1993 Paul Reed Smith and a 1976 SG. I travel almost every week, and I always take my Stowaway with me on the plane. I used to have another branded travel guitar, but I love how with this guitar, there's no compromises.
Nice.
It takes me no time to set up. The action is as good as it was when I bought it a year ago. The guitar always stays in tune and sounds great. Thanks for it, and I wish you great success. So, you know, those are the kind of things that I have. And then if I can find one more, if you'll allow me to embellish.
Oh, no, please. Actually, if you have some, the floor is yours, man.
Yeah, I want to find this other one that I got just recently, because this was interesting because it was oh goodness. Yeah, here we go. This guy just got his guitar. So somebody who had one for a year versus someone who just got it, to kind of show. He said, hi, Jim. I'm extremely pleased to be able to tell you that my Stewart guitar arrived safely, tuned it up and it played, and I'm absolutely over the moon with it. This particular guy, we'll talk about customization. This one has Seymour Duncan pickup in the actual bridge.
Nice.
Seymour Duncan pickup gives a real grunt, especially when I put in a distortion pedal on it. It's unbelievably nice and loud. And then he says, I hope you don't mind, but I'll be singing your praises to the Guitar Mastering Method community and websites and blah, blah, blah. Hopefully we'll get a few pictures. And, you know, it's just nice. Is, by the way, the most important thing is that I feel I made the exact right decision to purchase a Stewart guitar, and blah, blah, blah. So, you know, those are really nice to see and make me feel like the instrument is actually meeting that need. You know, somebody who wants a guitar, they can actually gig with it if they want to. They can have it as just a guitar that they can take with them, but they're not compromising.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to be so frustrated that it doesn't play well that you don't get inspired when you play. You want to be inspired when you play. So,
well, it's nice to hear feedback like that, for the sole fact that we've never had more guitars than what we have today with manufacturing. You know, offshore manufacturing, you know, North American manufacturing, all over the place. Anywhere on the planet is manufacturing guitars. So manufacturers such as yourself I've probably never had competition like you have today. So, you know, maybe it's a smaller base than some of these, you know, global names that we know about, But when you're pleasing these ones, some, 2s and 5s and 10s, as opposed to, these hundreds of thousands of sales, cranking them
That's
out,
right.
it's nice to hear that. And as that fellow says, I'm sure you won't mind if I hope you don't mind if I praise, and I'm thinking you're on the other end. Please do, go ahead. That's just all you can do, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what we want to do. I think that's the biggest thing, is to get that recognition so people know that there's an option.
Yeah.
And as I said, there may be some people that want to get that little small one, and that's good enough, and maybe
Sure.
that's what they want to do. But for me, I think that most people would rather spend a couple extra bucks and have something that they can actually use for more than a day.
Yeah. Well, that's a good segue for a second. This was not something I had, in notes for the show today. But let's talk about base options, and let's maybe take some of the fear away from people and kind of give them some base entry pricing right off like the no customizations, and maybe share some pricing with folks.
Sure, and that would be kind of, and this is my main one that I take with me. So
okay, three singles.
This is 3 single coils. They all come with the Graphtec saddles on it. 5-position switch. It fares very Fender-esque, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
The body looks Fender-esque. It has the neck on it as such, 22 frets. So something like this, brand new, is going to be like $679. Now, within the community, you'll get $50 off of that.
Nice.
So you're talking, $650, $649, if you will. Or no, less than that. I guess it would be $629. Right?
Okay. Yep.
So anyway, but that's what you get. Then if you want to add some different options, they are customizable, if that's a word.
Yeah,
you
I
can
think
customize
so.
it.
We'll go with that.
So you can have some guys like to have lace pickups. You can put 2 full size humbuckers in either bridge or neck position, because underneath, when you take this off, the body is already modified to be able to accommodate that.
Okay.
And essentially, the pickups, it's the labor and the cost of the pickup to put it in.
Right.
So it's about $100 pop if you want to add a humbucker. And like I said, in your community, it's been overwhelming. In fact, I have on order right now 35 sets of humbucker setup, because I basically have 2 humbucker setups left.
Wow.
Within my inventory right now.
Uh-oh.
So it has been really popular. Now, I do some other things where I will put, excuse me, turning my back.
That's
here
okay.
a second,
That's fine.
But, if you like, something like this is like a tone. This is a DeMars or a Seymour Duncan hot rail. Or
Okay.
I like these DiMarzio tone zones also.
Sure.
You can add those, either in the existing slots or different ways. I have the Rock Monster version, which is kind of what Frank C has, and so does our buddy Jared has that. And
Yeah, I was going to
has
ask
a
you what he
full-
had, because I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, full-size humbucker here, and then there's a rail pickup here.
Okay.
Either a tone, I think actually that Jared has a tone zone in here, but that gives it that nice fullness that you're looking for.
Mhm.
What's cool though is you can mellow it out in positions 2, 3, and 4 to give that single in there if you like.
Yeah.
But if you really want full on, either way, you're rocking.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And did you have any other testimonials or anything like that you wanted to go over, or did you have them all that was at your fingertips there? Or?
That was when I had at my fingertips, with the exception of like I said, the guy who actually got the one from on the airplane. So he called me up and had. Well, actually, the other thing too, I don't want to go into any details about it, but there's some I can't really mention names because
Sure.
they're so high profile that they
Yep.
that it's I don't want to mention it on air.
I know how it works.
But there's a lot of people that have interest and have had some special setups on some guitars and really have loved it. In fact, one I talked about when we were off the air wanted a special setup where they really wanted a 2 pickup guitar.
Oh, right.
I didn't really want to reroute all of the. I mean, I could have done that, but I didn't really want to reroute it. I wanted it to look, and he wanted it to be. Since we're on Van Halen, you know what? It's interesting. I don't want to get sidetracked, but I went to that 1980 Invasion tour and loved it. That
You're
was
kidding
awesome.
me.
Oh, absolutely. I went to those concerts in Philly.
I'm glad I
when
wore
was
the
in Philly
shirt
at the
tonight
time.
for the sole fact that brought up that conversation. See,
Yes.
I was born in 1968, so I'd be a pretty young lad. And Sandra's cousin actually got to see London Gardens on the very first tour. So, I
Okay.
mean, that plus you being at that one, I mean, it's kind of like witnessing Jimi Hendrix or witnessing the man walk on the moon. It's a very, very cool experience. Let's take a second and just maybe tell us. I mean, I hate to segue for a second, but we have a lot of Van Halen fans here. What was that tour like?
Oh, it was fantastic. I mean, and obviously he did Eruption, which was at that, iconic. I mean, it was a couple albums back at that point, but still iconic. The other thing that he did that I thought was amazing, and the way he had the tone set up his guitars, he did Spanish Fly also, which is another amazing instrumental.
Yeah.
But it was all of the, Somebody Give Me the Doctor, all of those off the first 2 or 3 albums, because in '80 that was right when Women and Children first came out.
Yeah.
So, Heading for a Whole Lot of Trouble was a favorite one of mine off that album.
Take Your Whiskey Home, yeah.
And it was a little bit different feel of album after the first 2. People were kind of like wrinkling their nose a little bit, but I liked it, and I liked the ingenuity, and it was an amazing show. And they basically played almost all 3 of those albums. All of the big hits of all 3 of those albums. A lot of the newest album, of course.
Who would they? I should know this, but I mean, I never professed to be the all-knowing guy and anything. Who did they tour with in that tour? Where you saw them? Do you remember?
I'm trying to remember. I actually think I have to research this, but my memory is telling me that, believe it or not, who toured with them, I think on that one was actually Def Leppard.
Okay, all right.
And their first song that they actually did that was very early, On Through the Night. I don't know if you've ever seen that album from Def Leppard.
Oh yeah,
they have
the truck
guitar.
with it. Yep.
The truck, right. And Wasted was their big song off that album. Now, of course, as their subsequent albums, and of course they went ginormous,
Mm-hmm.
But they weren't that big of a band at that point. But
right.
I think it might have been them.
Well, I'll look it up after. I apologize, I don't know too, and that's the thing. I never profess to know it all, so I'll look it up after. But that's awesome that you saw it. But what a great segue. So yeah, so going back now to what spearheaded that, one of your fellows wanted kind of a Frankie kind of style guitar. Yeah,
so I kind of was thinking about it, and I thought, well, why not make something that looks good and gets the utility that he's looking for? So I put together, he wanted our best-selling one is the Tobacco Sunburst, like you and Daryl have, actually. Frank has a Cherry Sunburst. Those are very popular as well. Right. But anyway, so what I did was I put 2 very high-end pickups. They happened to be both Seymour Duncans because that's what he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And then I basically killed this one, put a 3-position in it so that he had either bridge, both, or neck pickup. And it rocks. He wanted it for blues and kind of heavy rock kind of stuff with some gain. And let me tell you, it'll tear your head off. It's a great guitar.
Oh, wait, very cool. Frank C. was asking earlier, my better half here, Nocturnal, forwarded to me, says Frank wants to know what colors they come in. So we talked a little bit about that. You mentioned a couple. Do you want to share the whole lineup that you have, at least current now?
I can, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Ferrari Red.
Okay,
so you can see that one. This one actually has kind of a hybrid, just to be a little different. You have a Tobacco Sunburst there you can show off. That is actually the most popular one. The grain on that is just amazing. People love those.
Headstock.
The other color I have, which a lot of people really love, is
that sparkle blue.
Electric blue, yeah. And I mean, it is amazing. Hopefully you can get a pretty good look at that. Now this one, again, just being a little bit avant-garde maybe on the show today, this one has a cream pickup, which kind of gives it a little classier look with that really wild electric blue, but it's very popular also with a pearl pickguard, as you can
the
imagine.
pearloid type thing. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah. And then, hold on a second here while I get my act together here. This is a Cherry Sunburst. This is similar to what Frank has, but another nice, I mean, this is kind of the complementary one to the Tobacco. And some people like that cherry, and there's some glare there, I see, but you can see the wood. I mean, it's really pretty.
And I do like the, with the Graphtec saddles, it looks nice, especially, well, I guess it kind of looks good on all of them, but I mean, on the Cherry Sunburst and the one like I have, it's a nice dressing, if you want to call it a dressing.
It is. It's almost like, having the chrome trim on or something.
Yeah,
right?
But it serves a good purpose as well, too. Those saddles are really nice for, preventing, break at the string wind, and things like that as well, too.
And then this guy, this is black.
Yep.
And this is set up with this is actually a kind of interesting guitar here because this this is my guitar that before I had the company, this is my first one.
Okay.
This is the one I actually bought before I owned the company, so I still have it.
Nice.
And, this is how I had this one set up. Yeah. So
Well, it's got some history to it then.
it does. It does. It has a little star there because I loaned it to somebody and they put a big ding in it. But but anyway, those are the colors that we have for now. I'll turn around here so you can hear me. But if we, I'm not opposed to doing different colors. However, those have been the popular ones, and I think that kind of hits enough different types of colors where it kind of hits everybody's sweet spot. But I mean, if somebody wants a lime green one and you have 25 or 30 of your friends that all want one, that's something I can accommodate. I just don't want to do ones because
it's costly.
That's very difficult. Yeah.
Like I was telling you before too, I have a new friend in the industry, kind of in the digital industry, and they do things like that too, where they'll make a certain special run, but it's really smart. He does a really, really good thing. He's a big business, but a small business, if that makes sense. His products are getting out to the world, but still a very small business, and he'll do pre-orders. And so, okay, we're going to make a batch of this particular pedal, and we're going to make 50 of them. We'll say, I'm just going to make up a number. And, maybe these pedals are $150 or $200, and, give us $75 as a deposit. Once the pre-orders are filled, and they're all 50 or, filled, then we will produce those. And it's worked really, really well. And that might maybe I was going to ask you a question later on, too, about left-handed guitars, because it always comes up. And I feel so very sorry. And actually, one of our friends that was here earlier, he may still be here in the chat, Carlo Santin, because we're on an EVH-themed show. Through the EVH lineup, it was hard to get some of these cool guitars that these guys wanted, guys and girls that in left-handed models. And they started to put some out, and even some of the Stripe series are coming out in left-handed guitars. But from musical retail experience, and as a guitar manufacturer and a consumer, when you go into these guitar stores, it's like, oh, there's a left-handed wing, and there's like 7 guitars. One of them's holding the shipping and receiving door open. You know what I mean? It's sad, and they don't get the love that they deserve. But at the same time, I get it, because Eljon from Kramer made a really good statement one time when I had him on the show. He's like talking about guitars that, okay, you'd like to see this model, you'd like to see this model, you vote with your wallet, right? That's how, because everybody wants something. But I'm sure you've seen this before too. Oh, I'll take that if you make it, or I'll make this T-shirt. I'll buy that T-shirt if you make it. You make the T-shirt, and then it's like, well, 2 out of the 19 people, they actually want one now. So it's, okay, show me the money kind of deal, right?
That's exactly it. And we are actually pretty far down the road at getting that done. But just as you said, there's probably been about 8 or 10 people who have, been pretty serious about on our Contact Us page. But I mean, if you are looking for a left-handed one, and let me know. And if we can get that together where we can have 15 or 20, I will go ahead and I will do those. And I'll probably most likely pick Tobacco Sunburst or Black or something that's kind of basic. Just so that, unless, of course, I have 15 guys that say, hey, I want Cherry Sunburst or whatever.
Right.
I would do it that way then, because if there's 15 guitars or so, I can probably do one color.
Yeah.
But it's out there, and probably on the next large manufacturing run that I do, we'll probably do some of that.
Well, I guess maybe the proof is in the pudding there. Just get some of these people that are interested to contact you through the website, which we are sharing throughout the evening here as well, too. Contact you and say, hey, I want a left-handed. Hey, I want a left-handed. Funnel those conversations to you.
Absolutely.
You'll keep track of those, and if the numbers warrant it, we can possibly move forward. Right. And I do know, obviously, there's a cost, and, I don't know anything about guitar manufacturing, but I know there's costs in setup and changing, jigs and all that kind of stuff. So the good thing is, if you get all these pre-orders, people to do it, your initial cost and investment in doing that eventually will be paid off. And then now when you want to sell more left-handed guitars, that cost is somewhat absorbed, from those first pre-runs and things like that. So
that's right. Yeah. If we get enough, visibility, and you tell people about the guitars and all that sort of thing, then I could have a trickle of that type of guitar. And then every time that I do some runs, I can have some of those in with my other right-handed ones. So that's kind of the trick there.
And it's not really a problem. It's not really a problem having a one basic color, because I see that with other manufacturers as well too. Unfortunately, if you made 7 colors and left-handed guitars, you are going to have some stragglers left behind that just aren't going to get purchased, and you're not going to be able to do anything with them. You're going to have to blow them out later at cost, So you have sometimes less options for people is the better option. At least we're providing with the left-handed guitar, and and go from there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of been the same kind of philosophy that I've had on the colors and the pickup configurations and all of that, is that if you can have it that it's dynamic enough that you can meet everybody's needs, but yet at the same time it's somewhat standard.
Yeah.
I have a lot of guys that say, hey, can you do a Telly body? Can you do a Les Paul type body and all that kind of thing? And I say, yeah, we can, but right now I think I want to stay with the existing format that I have.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe later on, again, you have 100 of your buddies want a Les Paul type body on a guitar like this. It isn't something that's impossible to do.
Right.
But, play this one and see how you like it. I think you'll love it.
And that's the thing too.
Yeah.
Like you're hit a price point that's a very attractive price point. It's not a cheap guitar. It's not an expensive guitar. It's a nice in the middle, comfort zone where hobbyist guitar players could invest in it. Professional guitar players could invest in it. But once you start saying outside of the box and, okay, well, we're going to make like a Les Paul style shape. Okay, now it's going to cost us $300 more for the manufacturing of that one, just for the manufacturing cost alone. Stick that on now. Now we're talking, $1,100, $1,200, $1,500 possibly by when it's all said and done. And now you're competing in a different market. You're in a nice market right now. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So we'll see.
That's right.
We'll see what happens right over the years, and I'm sure you're kind of watching what the community is saying. And
that's right.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to be unsympathetic or
No.
Unwilling to listen to what the customers have to say or the market has to say about it. But at the same token, you have to kind of go with what makes the most sense. And so far, as I said, I think we've hit that. And as I said, I think your audience will be a good barometer for that within our entire Stewart customer base. So,
Yeah.
I always respect what I hear, and I always appreciate being on here to kind of bat those things around and hear what people have to say.
That's good, because that's what we learn from, right? I learn from so many people in the chat. I mean, I learn from people like yourself. All my guests every week, I learn. There's always a takeaway for me from something that they say. And I'm like, wow, that's great. And sometimes, unfortunately, I'll be totally honest, I have to go back and sometimes watch certain key points because I'm focusing on train wrecks and disasters and all the things that can go wrong. We were having some trouble at the beginning of the show before we went live, so we're always focusing on those things. And sometimes it's like right through my Canadian ears and out the other side. But there's always a takeaway. But I also see it in the chat. I watch some of the really knowledgeable people that come here and they share with us, with our other people in the chat. And I think it's a great learning experience for even us here on the panel watching the chat. This great people that know things. And I'm always picking up a little tip. Maybe it's about wiring, or maybe it's about, filing frets, or, I'm exaggerating here, but you know what I'm trying to say. Always learn from the community. Awesome.
Well, and I appreciate that too. And it's, as I said, I appreciate the opportunity to be on, because the community has grown greatly, and you have a lot of very, very influential people in the field. And I always like to interface and hear what they're saying as well. So a lot of times, like Daryl and others, I'll watch them after the fact because of my schedule. But that's always a lot of fun to get caught up. And this is the industry that I want to be in. So it makes it really cool to kind of stay on touch with what's going on.
I find it nothing more heartwarming than getting an email. Perfect example. I'll use Mitch. I won't say his name again. I won't mention his last name again, but I mentioned his last name a few times. But Mitch, we talked this morning about something, and we were back and forth by email, and he's leaning towards going with a certain product. And I said, here, I'm here to help you, man. I may not be able to give you an immediate answer, but I'm certainly going to try. If you catch me at the right time, you're going to get an answer. So even if I was looking at this guitar, I would do the exact same thing as well, too. Here's what I found with it. I love it. Here's what I think it'll do for you. Here's where I think you might want to go. And then when you get an email back or a Facebook message or whatever, and you know what, I bought that guitar, or I bought that pedal, or I bought that helix, or whatever it may be on your recommendation, it's like, because there's a lot of work that goes into this stuff, and at the end of the day, it's that little bit is so rewarding. I'll take one email saying, hey, I bought that because of you. And here on the opposite side of that, don't buy it just because I say to buy it. Don't buy the Stewart just because I say to buy it. Get one and try it. Find a way to get your hands on one. Buddy's got one, try it. I'm recommending, but you are the one that has to be satisfied with it. And I think everyone, as we've heard before, puts them in their hands. That's when you get that smile. It's like, okay. You don't even really have to say anything at that point. You see their face, and the proof is right there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's where it is too. And if I can hit that for people, as I said, my vision, I talked about before, to have a guitar that you can use everywhere, but the other vision was to fill that spot where I didn't think that existed before.
Yeah.
And And a lot of people, you'll talk to people who are guitarists and you say, you want to take your guitar traveling, whether it be on a train or whether it be on planes or, even in a hotel room with you or whatever. And it's not an easy thing to do. So if I can solve that problem, we have all these devices that can do all these fun things now that are small and compact, and the helix and the stomp and smaller amplifiers that you can take with you and all those sort of things. But it's kind of funny because in my mind, it's almost like people forgot that you have to have a guitar with you too.
I know.
If you want to,
Yeah. I mean, you can take those things like, Fruity Loops and whatever else. The boy could tell me this better than I know, but like you could compose with like paint by number of music on your device, but it doesn't replace having a, like GarageBand. You can use the frets on the guitar and you can, strum stuff and actually with your finger. But it's not like playing a guitar, is it?
No, it's not the same.
Although I could probably do arpeggios better on the iPhone than I could on the guitar. It's one thing I can't do to save my life. But I remember doing it. It's not like I really did this as a series, but I did this a few times on the channel over the course of last year. I didn't even really name it this, but it was in essence, it was Will It Van Halen. And I played a bunch of different guitars here in the house that were certainly not a Van Halen style guitar. And if I picked them up and I said I was going to play Van Halen, people would have thought I was crazy. One was Junior's Eastwood Airline, one of the basically George Jetson looking guitars, right? And it's a 3 pickup with like 9 million switches on it. I played it and did some Van Halen style playing, and playing wasn't perfect, but I could communicate the fact that you can do anything on this guitar. And I remember the first time I did it with the Stewart, the Stowaway. I'm like, okay, we're gonna do some Van Halen stuff like that, and people, I could almost feel them going like this, right? Sure. And here again. I'm not focusing on the playing. I'm focusing on what the guitar could do. And it was a very positive reception. Like, okay, all right, you got my attention here, right?
Yeah.
So it goes to show you, don't judge a book or a guitar by its cover. If you think travel guitar, get the stigma out of your mind. It's not toys. We've been kind of trained that way to think that there's these toys out there. But I'm going to say hi to a couple more people. I'm going to come back with a couple more questions. Stephen Naismith is here. Charles Green. Fender Guru is here. Wally in the box. This is cool. This is neat. The conversation. Frank C says, I love going through the TSA and hearing the comments. It always goes through no problem, but people don't know what it is at first glance.
Yeah, that's very true. I usually, just as a
courtesy
seasoned traveler, I kind of like set the stage and give them like a pre-warning. I say, hey, just want to let you know there's a guitar in there, And
they're like, yeah, right, sure.
They wrinkle their nose like, yeah, okay, whatever, get through there. But then they see, and you can watch them, and a lot of times you can see the X-ray screen if it's pointed the right way.
Yeah.
And you can see the strings and the pickups and stuff, and they go, oh wow, how's that work? And I would say probably 20% of the time when I go through, that people want me to take it out and show them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with impressing the TSA people.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
Yeah, especially if you're a frequent flyer, and I mean, I'm sure they're not going to be on the same shifts every time. But you know what? Kindness goes a long way. It's like you get pulled over by the police. You're not speeding. It's just a roadside check, whatever. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Kindness goes a long way.
Absolutely. You don't want to be going through and tearing all your stuff out.
That's right. I remember this is just a funny, almost horror story. Coming back from Winter NAMM, Junior and I went together. And coming back from Los Angeles. So every time I would do video shooting with my DSLR rigs and stuff like that, I would dump all my footage to my laptop. And then from my laptop in the hotel, I would also send it up to Google Drive back home, which I thought I was doing. My Wi-Fi was really poor in the hotel, so it never went up to Google Drive, never left my laptop. So that's not a horror story yet. Then we go through the airport, and we're rushing because going to Los Angeles, we were delayed by 12 hours. It was horrific. You know the story. Coming back, it was the opposite way. We had 5 minutes to get our plane. So we get through security, all good. They confiscated my autographed bottles of wine from Gary Kramer, which is a drag. I should have checked it underneath because you can't bring it on carry-on. Lost all my wine. Bummer. But anyway, so we're all distraught about all that stuff, losing all this nice wine and autograph stuff. And we just took off running, and I left my laptop back at TSA, right? And there's a dozen people behind us, and we're almost now to our gate. And I felt something like, okay, when you leave the burner on at home, which I tend to do too often, or, those crazy things, garage doors open, like, Eric, my laptop. And we just both froze, and we ran back, and fortunately, it was still there in a bin. I was like, sir, I said, and you can't go back through, right? Like, once you're through, I waved to the guy, the security guard, and I was like, "Sir, remember me, mustache? Can I go back and get my laptop? It's there." And he was really cool. He kind of laughed at me. I got it. But if I hadn't got that, my whole shoot at NAMM would have been completely gone, right? So almost a horror story. Yeah, it survived, so that's good.
We all have those, that's for sure.
I know. So I always double check, right? Fender Guru says, "Awesome T-shirt, Eric," and I'm glad I wore this one tonight because that sparked a good conversation about the tour. So very nice. So Sandra here, my better half here, Nocturnal Butterfly, as she's known to people in the chat. Some people know Sandra. She asked me a good question to ask you earlier tonight too. She wanted to know, where are some of the craziest places you've seen your guitars end up? I know they're global, but where have you seen some crazy locations?
It's interesting because, as I said, it has been worldwide, but lately, within maybe the last 10 or 2 weeks period, 10 days or 2 week period, I can tell you that we've had Japan, Osaka area, Tokyo, Hong Kong, and actually there's been repeat orders in Hong Kong, New Zealand, Australia, and Cyprus, which, for those of you who may not know, that's off the island. It's off the Greece,
right,
in Europe there. Yeah. So those are some of the ones that I can think of. I'm trying to think if there are any other ones that come to mind. Well, there's Hawaii also, which I mean isn't super exotic, but there has been a lot of worldwide interest in these. I actually saw something recently that said that Australia is one of the most budding markets for overall internet commerce right now for some reason.
Oh, cool.
Amazon and all that kind of stuff. But it's been interesting because, shipping from Dallas on some of these is not the easiest thing. And just wanted to let all of the audience know that we're working on things to help out some of those. So if you see the shipping when you go in there is somewhat sticker shock or what have you, bear with us, because once it gets through customs and so forth, I'm finding some ways to trim that a little bit.
Oh, good.
So just know that if you go in there, we might be able to do that. There's actually a couple of people that I've been able to give it a little money back.
Oh,
so,
nice. A bit of a rebate.
Yeah.
Speaking of the shipping costs, I want to give a big nod to you, just for our audience as well, to anyone that's interested in the Stewart Guitar Company and the kind of the genuine fellow that you are, Jim. What you were nice enough to give us a nice prize package for our 12 Days of Rockmas, a contest that I know I don't want to talk Christmas now because we're in the middle of summer, but you know what? We'll still celebrate it. Nocturnal Butterfly came up with this cool idea to have 12 days of giveaways. Right. And the final day, you gave us the same guitar like I have, the same one exactly. And it's so funny, the fellow that won it, first of all, we never really even discussed in advance what happens if someone wins at international. And just so happens this fellow won Kai. He won. He was international. Shipping cost was crazy, but you took care of it. And I mean, kudos and thank you for both providing that. But you know what's funny? I'm not sure if you follow him closely. I know you see some of his posts on Facebook and stuff like that. But that guy has won 3 guitars. He's won an American Telly, and I didn't mean
a Strat.
I know. I almost shot the finger at the camera. I didn't mean to do that. I'll count this way. I'm like, the guy's got like a rabbit foot or what? You know what I mean?
He does.
But good for him.
I did see that, yeah. And in fact, actually, I think I saw a post this week that he was actually moving from one place to another, and he had all of his stuff with him. You know? And I had to, say to him, hey, look how compact that Stewart is. Easy to take that one.
Yeah. It's funny, too, because, some of these people, like you always hear these contests and get people, they don't want to do anything. They have no association with the company. They're not going to watch your videos. They just want to win something and sometimes potentially buy it win it and sell it, right?
Yeah.
Like people do that, like these, I guess they call them sweepstakes people. And I'm not knocking them if that's your thing. And maybe some people may provide themselves a living by doing that. But Kai, when he won each of these guitars, they were all like random number generators. He just guessed a number. And I'm telling you, man, I don't know if I want to maybe bet on the fights or basketball games with this guy or something, but talk about the luck.
Yeah, that is absolutely amazing. Yeah, I saw when he got that third one, I was going like, what?
I know. Yeah. And I don't know if it was the same company, but I remember he was showing this, and I mean, expensive guitars, but that's cool. Yeah. So yeah, he won the guitar from you, and that day was also Line 6 wireless. And I think he might have got native as well from Line 6 or something. I forget, but he did get a Line 6 product as well. So that was very cool. Nice to see that. That was a nice contest.
Yeah, and he really loves the guitar.
He does. I know he does.
Yeah.
And like he's got guitars, got a lot of good guitars right now. He could be playing, and he still plays Stewart. So that says a lot about the brand. So that's awesome. Wall in the Box is here. Brian Cote says, I need to get a Stomp someday. I mean, very, very portable. These things are fantastic. You take that with a guitar cable, and you're ready to rock with the Stewart.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Dale Palmer's here saying hi to both of us.
Hey, how you doing? Good to see you, Dale.
Yeah, nice to have you here. As I'm scrolling down more towards the bottom of the chat, we've been talking about the guitar a lot. Tell us a little bit. I know a lot of times when I've talked to you off the air, we're having like Skype conversations, stuff like that. I'm getting to watch you play, but I never did get a full breakdown of what you're using at home. What's your kind of amp and pedal system of choice just to kind of get you jamming?
Yeah, I actually have a Mesa Boogie 4-channel Roadster.
Oh, nice.
With what those are.
Yeah.
It's right behind me here.
Okay.
And that's what I usually use. Now, when I go to smaller venues, I have one of the cab clone deals. So for those of you who don't know, because this is a little, extended from the EVH gear stuff, but the cab clone is kind of a amp. It's a cabinet simulator is what it essentially is. So it loads your cabinet or your head properly, but then it sends a wireless. Yeah, it sends a wireless. So what I do is I have a MIDI with an old MIDI, and I run it with a G major TC Electronics for my effects.
Okay.
And pretty basic. So I have, it has 4 independent channels. So I have a clean, I have an overdrive, I have a full-on distortion, and then I have like kind of a modern sound. And so those 4 channels, and then it has reverb and all of my effects, whether it be delay, all of the pedal harp or whatever that you want. I'll be honest with you, a lot of that stuff is like maybe you set up for one song. So most times when I play, I have delay, chorus, reverb, and then my distortion, overdrive, and clean, and my full-on modern. And that's pretty much all I use.
Are you a guy, like you mentioned the effects that you're just using? Are you one of the ones that do you feel better if you have some reverb and delays, or can you play straight into the amp and still have, I can't. I need my crutch, and it's my comfort zone, kind of my icing on the cake, I guess. Can you do I
like a little delay. I just think it warms it up a little bit, and I'm more of probably a delay guy than a reverb guy, to be honest with you. I like a little reverb, 50 microseconds or so all the time. I almost have it on. And then I have other delay setups that I'll use specific for songs that I'll tap out. If there's a song where you have some of them, like if it's a Pink Floydy or, even some of the Van Halen with the
quick slapback stuff,
Phase 90 or slapback stuff that you have, you'll set that up accordingly. But I like that. And I'll tell you, I mean, for when I'm playing, just goofing around, that little Boss Katana thing, I mean, it has a lot of tone for a tiny little 7-watt amp, and what's kind of interesting about it for me is it's very simple. So if you're with, it has 3 tones, it has delay on it, which I like. That was the thing that kind of drew me to it. It has a little delay on it. Then it has a crunch setting, a full-on kind of brown sound, they call it.
Yep, they do.
And then they have a clean sound on it. So it's 3 little switches. So if I'm just goofing around and I'm playing to some tracks or something like that, or I'm trying to figure out some chops or whatever, I just plug it in and it can take it with me wherever I want to go, and it's not too loud or anything like that. So
that's perfect.
But my real rig is the Mesa.
Okay,
that's my.
I thought I saw that once in one of our side camera views or something one time we were talking. So yeah, I thought that's what you had. Very cool.
And I mean, when I play it live, I still lug the 412 cabinet with it. I mean, it that's one of my workout things, I guess. But there is something magical about that when you play live.
Yep.
But incidentally, the last time that I played it at a big venue where I could really kind of crank it up some, the crossovers and everything that the guy had from the mixing board, he ran my cabinet through the cab clone.
Oh, wow.
He actually told me, he said, "Yeah, I'd rather just run it through the cab clone. I'll get better sound, and I can put." So this goes to show you from the electronic side. Here's a guy, and this was a really, really kind of big show with a really big
production,
almost $1 million PA system that we were doing. It wasn't that I was there because I was there with other people.
Sure,
and there was a bunch of people playing, and I was able to sit in. But they did use my rig, and for the whole thing, and I was on the highlight part of the show. But what was interesting about it is that they use the cab clone. I mean, I was thinking, well, put my 57 in front of it, like you
Yeah.
normally do. He's like, nah. He said, why don't I just run the cab
It's so
clone?
much
He says,
easier.
that'll be better.
But
So I was like, I could have brought just the head,
Yeah. But you had the speaker hitting you for the, kind of kicking the pants kind of volume, right?
Yeah. It was nice to have it on there, to hear it. But I heard the live cuts later on, and of course you didn't hear it. You were hearing out the PA through the cab clone.
Yeah.
So I could have had inner ears in, and I could have had just that going.
It's been a while since I've been taking out big cabinets on the road, and the big thing you see behind me are the EVH 5153. I
Awesome.
honestly swear, I know it's not true, but I swear it gained about 100 pounds of weight since I retired. It's just I got extremely fat and lazy, I guess. I work on a computer all day. I get no exercise, so I'm just sitting here, right? And I went to move the cabinet into the other room. I was doing some changing around here in the studio, and I was like, oh, I couldn't believe how just lifting the head off the cabinet. It's like, oh man, you know what I mean? Like I'm very out of shape, but I do know what you're saying now. Like there's these, like the digital modeling now and the speaker load boxes with a lot of them have IRs you can read and stuff like that. Just absolutely incredible. It's really, really come a long way.
Yeah. It's hard not to, kind of, even like, some of the other, with the stomp box and even like the little bit larger Boss katanas that you can get.
We have
or whatever.
Junior has a 50-watt one upstairs. He runs his helix out directly, and it doesn't have an effects loop. The 100-watt does, and I really want to get the 100-watt for him so he'll have an effects loop because I love loops. I mean, I'm all about the loop.
That's what I do with mine. Exactly.
Yeah. But he runs into the 50, and he runs on a clean channel, and then he uses helix for everything else, and it sounds great. I'm a big fan of the Katana line.
Yeah. I was really surprised. I mean, there's that kind of, you like that kind of tube thing and all that kind of stuff, but it's really getting close now, and some of the things that they've been able to model are amazing. You have even the other stuff that takes it way to the other. Takes it way to the other side.
Oh yeah. I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying that
Kempers and all that kind of stuff too, and the helix. I think they've done a great job.
It's never been a better time, and I shouldn't say year. Never been a better time or period for modeling. You mentioned them, like the Kempers, the head rushes. Boss has phenomenal stuff. Line 6, which I love to death. It's a really, really comfortable place. And whatever the brand may be that you choose, you should at least try it. And just like the travel guitars, maybe you're afraid of them, try that. Try some of this digital gear. I'm certainly not an advocate of not using tube amps and solid-state amplifiers. I'm not saying you do what you're doing, but I'm just saying you should embrace it and just try it. What we'll do here, because we're approaching the 10:30 mark, and I want to try it, if all goes well. We had some problems earlier when Jim was playing. We were getting some squelching where Skype was actually chopping the audio. We'll try to do a little bit of performance, just kind of give you some tones here. But I'll say hi to a few other people that jumped in. I certainly don't want to miss them, and if I have missed anybody, I greatly apologize. I certainly don't do it in slight. Little Hooker Jam is here. JJK's House of Harleys is here. Fart, I Kill Noobs. I love his name. I love that name. I almost giggle every time he's here. Nice to see him here. He's talking about some colors. He mentioned something about colors somewhere, and I missed it, but he had a color suggestion. But hit up StewartGuitars.com and funnel that through.
Send us a message.
Yeah, send a message, and if several of those keep popping up, it might be something that can be looked at. So thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it. Mel O'Brien is here, saying hey to everybody. A lot of our regulars staying right through to the end, which is awesome. Nice to see. I appreciate the support. Mark Dillon is here as well too. Marsman. Let me see. I just want to make sure I don't miss anything. Terry Himes is here. Thank you so very, very much for tuning in.
Thank you guys so much. Yeah.
Yeah, really appreciate this.
Good turnout. Yeah.
And let's just go down to the very, very bottom. Make sure I didn't miss anything else. And be sure to check out all the links that Nocturnal Butterfly has shared in the live chat. And also, if it's easier for you after the broadcast, there's links down in the description as well too for Twitter, Facebook, and of course the website. Let me see here. I think there's a lot of conversations amongst one another, which is always very cool. Scott McLean has a question. I'm just being funneled that from Nocturnal. So let's go try to find Scott's question. Eric, I have the 50-watt EVH head and a 212 cab. I was talking with Dave R, and he suggested I would need to get some FR speaker if I wanted to get a Helix. Yes. You could technically you could run it through the effects loop. But if you want to use it on its own, you would have to go to a speaker of some sort, like a power cab or emission engineering, modeling things. There's all kinds of different ones out there. But you know what you can do, Scott? Message us through Facebook or send me an email, info@evhgeartv.com. I'll be more than happy to help you, maybe clarify exactly what you're asking, and I'll be happy to send you some information on that. Happy to help. Fart says, and that's funny, I say fart, I kill noobs. I better say that. It says metallic purple with gold hardware. That sounds nice, doesn't it?
That would be cool.
That sounds cool. I like that. Yep, funnel that through, okay, for sure. So got Scott's question. So take it away for a second and show us what you got, whatever tones you've got, and hopefully we don't get that squelching again. We'll be all good.
Yeah, I'm just kind of clean right now, you know. You know,
It sounds nice. There you go. And it was cutting out just at the end there. Do I still have your vocal?
I hope you do.
Yeah, I got your vocal.
Okay.
It's almost like a squelch, you know, like the old CB radio days, right?
Yeah, well, you have to maybe plug yours if you...
Yeah. I'll try it. I've got my wireless here ready to go. I'll pop it in right now. I should have it set. We'll try it real quick.
Yeah.
And one of the nice things, no headstock. I can kind of get it right in here. It rocks.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
it
rocks.
plays good, man.
Rocks.
I love this thing. And look how small. I mean, it looks small, but it's not.
Exactly.
I love it.
It's compact, you know, again, without having a headstock on the top, it does feel... I had a guy actually the other day said, oh, you know, I don't really play a 3/4 style, you know, guitar. And I said, dude, this is full 22 fret instrument, you know?
Exactly.
So yeah.
I love it. Well, this has been fun to geek out over guitars again, man.
I always love it.
Oh, okay. Well, here we go. Here's a great way to end the show. So, Fart I Kill Noob says, I came in late. How easy is it to break the guitar down to travel ready?
Oh yeah.
Let's do it.
Why don't we show that?
You want to race?
Yeah. Hold on a second.
You're gonna beat me because you do this way more than I do because I don't take mine down much.
Yeah. So I do it this way.
Okay.
But there's 2 thumb screws just to show them in the back. There's 2 thumb screws. You put a little pressure on the neck. You take those 2 thumb screws off.
Oh,
Take
got me
the neck
beat.
off. I'm out, and I don't know if you can see it or not, but here you go. In like that.
You got me beat. I put my back one on too tight today. Oh man. All right. So yeah. So there you go. Show them the back again for a sec.
Yeah. So in the back, these 2 thumb screws, like I said, you do have to put a little pressure on the neck to get those loose, but they come in and there's keepers so they don't fall out. There's also a little latch here that you have that you can actually release that. I don't know if you can see that or not too well, but that latch releases the neck. And then when you reverse the process, you can I just kind of guide the strings out, take it like that. It goes into the pocket here very easily. And actually had every once in a while that will happen on. I put a new string on here, and hold on 1 second here. Yeah, so I put a new string on, but anyway, you put it in that pocket, and then it just pops in place like that, and the latch holds the neck on, and then you pull it down all the way, tighten the thumb screws, and
you got it.
Oh,
so yeah,
it's actually not bad out soon.
That's good. I somehow tighten the back, and I only do these finger tight. One thing I tell people, and this is a strong piece of advice, never use any kind of a wrench or anything like that to tighten them up. It should only be finger tight, and I don't know how I got it tighter than finger tight, but I got it a little tighter. But that's just, here again, a flaw on my part. But yeah, that little quick release right there, and try to show it.
That's right.
Push that,
Takes
and it
it
pops
off.
off.
Right.
Do me a favor real quick. Just show us that patented neck joint real quick again, too. If you can pop it off, show people that neck, the pocket, how cool that is. And it really sits tight.
And another thing, too, if you ever have that happen where it gets tight, you can always put pressure on the neck.
Yes, either forward or backward, whichever one you're trying to loosen, yeah.
it's hard for you to do while you're doing it. So
Yeah.
I'll
Trying to run a show and do the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. Take it off, and now as I put the neck in the neck pocket, you can see that.
Yeah.
There.
A
That's
plate,
where the neck
an actual
goes
plate
on.
right there, and a plate on the back of the neck. So that will kind of create some sustain between the guitar as well too.
That's exactly right. And it was interesting early on the launch of the product. I had a lot of guys that were, I'm sure, very knowledgeable about guitars, but they were saying like, "Oh, this sustain isn't really good," and all that kind of thing. See, there's the plate on the back of the neck.
Very cool. I know for a fact that was so popular that you had people asking if you would sell those pieces for other guitars, and you're like, well, no, it doesn't really work that way. It won't work on a conventional guitar. So that's a good testament to the product too.
That's exactly right. It's kind of built from the ground up, the guitar. So if you were to try to put it on a different instrument,
Yeah, it wouldn't work.
you'd have to kind of have a luthier, and you'd have to go to CNC machine and have the neck pocket and all that, kind of.
Just before we wrap up, I'm going to have you pull it off one more time, just for one reason. Show the truss rod there. We had a question about truss rod.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely, yeah.
Typical.
Again, you can see how easily it can be done.
Yep. Typical truss rod size.
It is, and it's in here. So.
And one sec, I'm
cool.
going to put it on a big screen. One sec. Go ahead. Okay, there you go. Yep.
So right here, and another thing with this guitar, I would think this should be standard, but it isn't. All the wrenches and everything come with it. So you have wrenches for the top of the locking tuning system on the headpiece, wrench for here, the saddle wrenches, etc. So yeah, so you can adjust it, and if you do want to change the neck setting, you can just put it right back on and check it. You don't have to take the strings off.
That's right. It's perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah.
So yeah, we answered Fart Kill Noob's question about the truss rod. Guitar Hack asks the Les Paul shapes available. We talked about that earlier, but not at the moment, Guitar Hack. But there again too, if enough people ask for certain shapes or certain colors and things like that, then there's always options. And Frank is saying don't crank it down. And I think Nocturnal Butterfly said somewhere, she says Eric has strong fingers, and I will admit to that. I break things. I'll grab. I haven't necessarily broke a coffee cup, but I'll grab some things, and I don't know what it is, and it's like, oh, sorry about that. I don't know if
it's all like guitar playing. Guitar players have string fingers.
Yeah,
Fingers,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
She said the first time I tried to tickle her, I it's like just play tickling, whatever, and she screamed. So very cool. So we got our links. We got all kinds of good stuff. I think we answered most of the questions. But if not, the best thing to do is use that contact form at StewartGuitars.com. The link is there, and reach out to Jim as people have heard, and we've had testimonies in the chat. You're very open to talk with these people. Pre-sales, follow-up sales, post-sales, all that kind of stuff. So it's been great to have you back, man. It's a real pleasure. And we'll do this again too. Maybe are you doing Summer NAMM? Are you going at all?
I'm looking at schedules right now.
Okay.
So we'll see how it goes in Nashville. You're talking about. Are you going to Nashville?
No, I'm not. However, I had passes, but I gave them to a good buddy here that's actually in the chat tonight. Him and his wife are going, and if you do end up going, I'll try to arrange a time, and I'll trade some cell phone numbers. I'll get him to meet up with you. He's a really cool Guitar Hack. He's a really cool dude, and cool. He'd be nice to even though you don't have Les Paul's for him right now, he'd be a nice guitar guy to talk to. So
absolutely, yeah. We'll see how it goes. My youngest son is graduating from high school, and he may be moving, and we might be taking a road trip.
Oh, family first for sure, though.
Yeah.
Awesome. Mitch Hammond saying, great show. And no problem, Guitar Hack. No problem. I know you can't watch all these all the way through. It's a long show, but no problem. And everyone, thank you so very, very much for tuning in tonight. I had a lot of fun, and it's always so much fun to play this guitar because I want to do it because I want to see people's reactions, because I want people to judge the guitar before it's heard, and then we can show them, that the thing rocks, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun, and it's one of those things where I never want to look at it as a novelty, but it's a very novel thing to play at the same time. It's because every time you play it, it's going to be a conversation starter. It's happened to you on the plane. One last thing, because this is a fun way to end it. We didn't get to this on the air. We talked about it off the air. One time in your travels, someone said to you, I got to show you this guitar. It's this travel guitar. Or no, where was it? At a trade show. Where was it?
It was actually at a studio. I was doing there was some recording. And when I came into the recording session, the people were already there, and I was just there to kind of talk about the guitar a little bit and so forth. And this was a 7-time Grammy guy, and there were some A-lister players that were there. And I introduced myself to them, and it was a little intimidating because they were all very high A-list kind of player people,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And but what's funny is I said, well, I travel a lot, so I said I'd really like to have a guitar that I can take with me. And the guy interrupted me, and he said, "Hey," he said, "you need to get a Stewart." And I kind of, you know, I said, "Yeah." So that, and he goes, "No." He said, "You really need to get one." He said, and he kind of kept interrupting me and telling me this guy's name is Dale Herr, and he's a real kind of A-list player up and does a lot of musicals and all these other things, a lot of studio sessions. But anyway, he was promoting the guitar to me, and he didn't realize that, you know, I owned the company. And then I said, "Yeah, Dale," I said, "thanks so much." I said, "I appreciate you playing my guitar, actually. I'm Jim." And he goes, "Oh, okay." But it was
Wow.
really cool. It was almost like one of those, you know, what do they call it? Not apprentice, but where the people go around and they look at their company and their disguise.
That undercover boss thing.
Undercover boss.
Yeah.
It was like undercover boss kind of thing, because he was doing all this promotion unsolicited and telling me how great the guitar was, and I thought that was awesome.
That's very cool. That's very cool. Nice. You almost don't want to release your cover too soon, and, you know, feel them out a little bit more. What are you going to say, right?
Yeah, exactly. So he was really prominent, but no, you really need to get a Stewart. You know, I was saying, yeah.
That's cool.
I like it. Yeah.
That's very cool. I love it. Well, listen, we're going to let everybody fly. Just a reminder that I will be back again over Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific over on Helix Hour. It's a 60-minute presentation for those of you that are new to it, and we're going to have a great guest over there talking more digital gear with someone who was very involved in the Line 6 community not that many years ago, Sean Halley. He's got a new record out. It's absolutely phenomenal. Very, very fresh guitar. Just absolutely beautiful. So we'll be over there and having some fun. And if anybody that's on the fence about looking at digital gear, come on over and we'll warm welcome. And we'll have lots of fun. But Jim, don't go away. I'll say goodbye to you off the air and say I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. I just got a text message earlier saying we have a tornado warning coming here tomorrow.
Oh, no.
So fingers crossed. We don't get them too often here in Ontario. Last year we did. We got like almost like every few days, which was unheard of. So fingers crossed, because I have some mobile things I have to do tomorrow. So I'm hoping I'll have to stay home and or vacate if it gets worse. But we'll see what happens. Everyone have a fantastic weekend, and Jim will say goodbye to you off the air. And guys and girls, have a great weekend. See you Sunday.
Yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in. Yeah,
rock
Talk
and
to you
roll.
soon.
Check out those
Right.
links in the description.
Hey, you're still here? Eric Jr. here, reminding you to check out our full lineup of quality merch. Available right now in the Broadstash Boutique. Quality products and fast shipping. Visit broadstash.com today.
I am now on Patreon. If you enjoy my content and wish to support my channel and what I do, then please check out my Patreon page at patreon.com/evhgeartv. Your support assures the continued growth of this channel and a fun community in which to share our love for Van Halen, music gear, and much more.
My name is Eric and I'm playing Wolfgang guitar.
Video production services provided by Design 39 Media. Visit design39media.com for all your website, photography, and video production needs. Microphones for EVH and Gear TV are provided by Rode Microphones, and official Van Halen merchandise is provided by VanHalenStore.com.